To Bob, but Washington's hippest journalists. They jokingly call it the prom, also the nerd prom. It's all about who you're with, what you're wearing, and as you just heard from Bob, what ticket did you get for an after party? These journalists are known for being competitive, and that includes getting the big names at your table. Let's bring in Washington Times style reporter Stephanie Green and Washington Times video reporter Elizabeth Glover, because together they co-write such a fun column, Green and Glover, and they've been going to events all afternoon. It's so nice of you to take time out to talk to us. Stephanie, let me start with you, because you wrote this column and you say, on the red carpet this year, austerity is the new black. What does that mean?
Well, good evening, Chris. And I'm actually wearing my corsage just for you since it's Washington prom season. Can you see my corsage? What do you think of that?
I haven't seen a wrist corsage since 1962, and I, of course, wasn't even alive yet.
Okay, well, it was a gift from Liz, so you can blame Liz for thinking of that. But yeah, I just came from the Washington Hilton, and where it's very hot, by the way. There's an air conditioning problem, and all the stars are sweating. So it's kind of interesting to see all these journalists and celebrities sweating together. They're having a little bit of an air conditioning problem. But yeah, the problem is that this year, with the economy being the way it is, nobody wants to be seen as being too chic, too glamorous, too expensive. So, for example, I ran into Senator Mark Warner this evening, and I said,
although,
Senator,
can I interrupt you for a second? Do you see Mariska Hargitay? That doesn't look like it came from Target.
Well, the politicians in particular are very, very discreet about who they're wearing. In fact, I ran into Senator Mark Warner and I said, Senator, who are you wearing? And he didn't want to answer the question. And finally he said, okay, if you have to know, it's Armani. So same thing with Todd Palin. I ran into him and he didn't want to tell me who the designer of his tux was, but he finally said, listen, if you want to know, I got it in Alaska. So you are seeing some glamorous people, but I would say on the whole, people are toning it down. In fact, they're donating the dessert for tonight's dinner to a homeless shelter here in Washington. So, you know, you're seeing some glitz and glamour, but overall, the economy is really shedding a harsh light on this event.
Elizabeth, let me put aside the economy as we see our own Chuck Scarborough there. And is that Gordon Ramsay? Is that who that is? Anyway, Elizabeth, Washington is not exactly known as a town that has, shall we say, the most trend-setting individuals. And I say that with all due love and respect to you. But what are you seeing so far tonight? What about what people are wearing?
Well, thankfully, they're not wearing burlap sacks, which was the case last year and the year before when, you know, during the Bush administration. So there's a little bit more glitz here, but to Stephanie's point, it is toned down a bit. Of course, quite a few tuxedos and gorgeous gowns. But some of us are wearing our best nerd chic. So, for example, you know, we're not afraid to don our glasses and, to Stephanie's point, our corsages, because this is, after all, as Twitter says, hashtag nerd prom. So we're just sort of reveling in that glory. We are not Los Angeles. This is not the Oscars. There are many stars here, and maybe they're, I know a lot of them are on Twitter, Ashton Kutcher, Debbie Moore, but some of them are following the hashtag WHCD. But the insiders know.
Elizabeth, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Can I interrupt you for a second? Because I think maybe when your sleeve went down so demurely, your mic got lost. So I'm going to let someone fix that off camera and go back to Stephanie and say, you know, I was talking a little bit about this to Bob Franken about how hot a ticket is. And there actually was a lot of talk out here in Hollywood over the last couple of weeks about how people were fighting to get tickets now that Barack Obama, and there we see Steven Spielberg, doesn't Glenn Close look lovely? She looks great. How tough is it, even if you're a Hollywood star, to get a ticket tonight?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be between a journalist or celebrity and a ticket to one of these things. It's getting pretty competitive out there. Everyone's trying to get into two parties that are happening tonight. The first party is Capitol Files party. Capitol File is, of course, a local luxury magazine. At that dinner, or party rather, you're going to see Anne Hathaway, Kevin Bacon, Wanda Sykes, all the big names. The other party is the Vanity Fair Bloomberg party. And I must admit that last year Bloomberg wasn't that great. So that party has sort of been tossed aside as like a B-list party. So Capitol File is really the place to be.
Ouch.
Yeah. So Capitol File is really the place to be tonight. And when I talk to my colleagues in journalism and when I talk to a lot of the publicists for Hollywood celebrities, they all want to be at Capitol File. So if you think it's hot at the Hilton right now with the air conditioner not working, think about all the body heat in Capitol File between all the journalists, hot to trot journalists, and the big celebrities. A lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah,
I'll have my notebook out.
Think about that, actually.
Yeah. We'll have our notebooks out. We'll be taking lots of notes for sure. There's going to be a lot of schmoozing going on, a lot of scripts being passed around, and a lot of lobbying going on. The Creative Coalition is a very, very powerful lobbying organization that consists of celebrities. They were very, very active at the Democratic conventions. They are here in town this weekend hosting a number of events. Liz and I interviewed some of them last night, and they're using this opportunity to get FaceTime with politicians to get their word across about arts education and arts funding. So a lot of partying going on, but again, this is Washington, so they're all here for a reason, and that's to get politics going.
Yeah, people who don't normally get together in a single room. You guys are staying with us as well, or should I say two of our candidates for prom queen, so thank you.
That's
and we'll
right.
talk to you in just a bit.
Sounds great, thank you.
White House correspondents, of course, are known for their sharp wit and stinging analysis of White House comings and goings. The same holds true for the entertainers. The night is famous for satire, but sometimes does it go too far?
To be this close to the man, I feel like I'm dreaming. Somebody pinch me. You know what? I'm a pretty sound sleeper. That may not be enough. Somebody shoot me in the face.
Plus, with this many celebrities in one room, you never know what's going to happen, including this surprise from 2006.
Here's our typical evening. 9 o'clock. Mr. Excitement here is sound asleep. And I'm watching Desperate Housewives.